Glad that you're here. Hey, do you like who you're sitting next to? Oh, that was a sad response. Look at them and say, I'm glad I'm next to you. Now just tell them you're only a little annoying, right? Just some of you are like, no, they're a lot annoying. I don't know about you. Okay, so I'm not one of those people that gets mad very easy. Some of you get mad easy, and that's one thing. I don't get mad really. I rarely ever get angry. There's been a couple times I've gotten pretty angry. Mostly though, I'm more of like a person that gets easily annoyed. And I think there is a difference between annoying and mad, okay? Like lots of things annoy me, and that's probably the same for you. Like for example, toilet paper on backwards, okay? That annoys me. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're part of the problem, okay? There is a correct direction for that, okay? That kind of stuff. That annoys me. People that chew like this. Do I have a friend like that? Like, I don't, because I won't be around you anymore, okay? No, like that annoys me very, very much. People that have been dating for 2 weeks and think they know more about love than everybody else in the world. You know what I'm talking about? We know we love each other more than anyone ever in history. I'm like, y'all gonna be broken up in 2 weeks, all right? Just get over it, all right? There's that. That really annoys me. Okay, do you have the teacher that it's 10 seconds until the bell rings and they will not let you pack their stuff? Okay, I had a teacher that always say, the bell doesn't dismiss you. You had the same teacher? I dismiss you. I was like, they teach them that in college? Like, what is that? I'm like, you are so annoying. Like, we're getting out of here in 5 seconds and we can't put our stuff away. And so that was always annoying to me. Okay, this is annoying to me. Subscribe for part 2, okay? Like, if you don't know what I'm talking about like that, I'm just like, I'm not watching any of your videos ever again because that's just annoying to me. Then there's things that start to push me past annoying towards anger, okay? This one almost makes, okay, I have to like pray when, like that I won't sin when this one happens, okay? When people park over the line, when they park, okay? I don't know what it is inside of me. I get so... There's been a couple of times when I let it get the best of me. So one time I was in a parking lot and this person had parked over the line, right? And so I had a junkie car at the time. And so I pulled in my parking spot right in the middle, which meant I was this close to their car. I mean, our mirrors had to like stagger to get in that parking spot. And so I was this close to the car. So it was on their driver's side, and I knew it would be impossible for them to get in their driver's side, and I parked there anyways. Okay, and I thought it was funny because they're gonna have to crawl in from the passenger side. And then a little bit later, they come into where I was, and they're like looking for the owner of the blue car because their passenger door was broken and wouldn't open. And so then I had to come face to face with them, and I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. Okay, I don't know if you do that, like stuff like annoys you, makes you mad, and hopefully in your anger, okay, you don't do what I did and do something that you shouldn't have done, okay? And I think that we all have things that annoy you. You have things that annoy you, okay? Some of you have a person that annoys you. I understand that. So last week we talked about not letting yourself be easily angered, okay? And if you didn't hear that, that was an important thing. And what to do when people wrong you, okay? That was really important because we've been talking about love, and that's an important part of love, is handling when people do wrong. But I was thinking about this, okay? And there is sometimes a time when anger can be helpful when loving people. Like, huh? Okay, so I'm going to talk in a minute. You're going to see towards the end a type of anger that can actually help you love you. Not all anger is bad anger. Do you understand that? There's a such thing as good anger. We're going to look at that. In fact, I'm going to show you a story, okay? I'm going to read a story to you. And in this story, you will probably feel a couple of different emotions. Some of you will feel compassion, and some of you will feel anger. And you'll probably feel both, okay, in this story. Because this is an interesting story. It's going to show us some compassion. It's going to show us some anger. And if you don't feel anything, you may not be human. So you might should check on that. But so here's the story. Okay, it's actually from the Old Testament, and it's about a guy named David. So if you've heard of David and Goliath, okay, it's that guy. Okay, except now he's not a kid anymore. He's a king. Okay, so he's like in charge of the kingdom. And this guy comes to him and tells him about something that's been going on. Okay, so I'm going to read this story to you. And this is in 2 Samuel 12:1. Okay, so the Lord sent Nathan to David. That's the David that we were just talking about. And when he came to him, he said, there were 2 men in a certain town, one rich and the other poor. You got the image? You're like, which one are you? Okay, poor. Anyway, so there's one rich and there's one poor, okay? And then he goes on and he says, the rich man had a very large number of sheep and cattle. So again, I want you to see this. So you get this guy, he's got lots of cattle. He probably, I don't know how many thousands of sheep, he's got all this stuff. He's like, look at all my goodness. This is rich back then, okay? This would be like the equivalent of, a nice car and house. I don't know. Anyway, so he's got all this. But the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb that he bought. Okay, so the poor man, he has one of these, okay? He bought himself this cute little lamb. It's his favorite little thing. He just bought this one little lamb, okay? That's all he's got. And it says he raised it, and it grew up with him and his children. It shared his food and drank from his cup, even slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. Now, so here he has this little bitty lamb, okay? And it's like, basically, some of you do this with your puppy, right? Like you let it sleep with you in the bed, and you cuddle up to that thing. It's your favorite. You play with it. It's okay. This is the same for him. Okay, he's got himself this little ewe lamb. Okay, so the story keeps going. Now a traveler came to the rich man, but the rich man refrained from taking one of his own sheep and cattle to prepare a meal for the traveler who came to him. Now you could probably, you're like, no. Okay, but so here's this guy. He's like, I got all these animals, but I don't want to like kill any of mine. Okay, so he keeps going. Instead, he took the ewe lamb that belonged to the poor man and prepared it for him who had come to him. Now, prepared, this sounds nice, but basically he took the little ewe lamb, right, and prepared it, okay? And so now, if you hear that, now I don't know what you start to think, okay? You feel really bad, right, for the little guy with this little lamb, I don't know, and maybe you feel a little irritated at the guy. So here's what happened. So David hears this story, okay? And it says David burned with anger. Now, do you know what it means? You know what it means to burn with anger. Have you ever been so mad your face felt hot? You know what I'm talking about? You're just like, okay, that's how mad he was. He burned with anger against the man and said to Nathan, as surely as the Lord lives, this man deserves to die. Okay, now that may be a little overkill. In fact, he wasn't actually saying he's going to kill this man. He goes on and tells us, he says, he must pay for the lamb 4 times over because he did such a thing and had no compassion. He looked at this situation and it made him angry to see that somebody would hurt somebody on purpose. That somebody that had so much would just ignore that and hurt another person. And he had that anger, and it also, if you look, David had compassion where this other man had no compassion. Now this is important because as followers of Jesus, if you're a follower of Jesus, there is something that we're supposed to have, okay? And that is compassion. In fact, I can just show you. This is something that one of Jesus' disciples said, okay? He says, as God's chosen people, okay, those are the people who follow him, clothe yourselves with compassion. In other words, we are supposed to be people of compassion, that we have compassion on people. We care about people. We're concerned about the needs of others, that we have compassion. It's kind of who we are. Now that should make sense to us, because if you've been here at all the last few weeks, if you're new, I can tell you what we've been doing. We've been talking about what love is and what real love is. Because, we all understand there's different kinds of love. There's the love you have for your crush, if you have a crush, okay, that's the type of love, it's a feeling, okay, you have this crush on somebody, that's love. And that is different than how you feel about Chick-fil-A. Okay, you may say, I love Chick-fil-A and I love this person, and that's 2 different loves, right? And then there's a love you have for your family. That's a different kind of love, okay? You would never say you're in love with your family. That's different, okay? And then there's another kind of love that we've been talking about, and that's Jesus' kind of love. And that love is going to have compassion. It's a different kind of love. Here's what we've read every single week that Jesus said, my command is this, that you love each other, just as I have loved you. And Jesus was a person. When we want to love like him, he was a person that loved with compassion. If you look all through, it says over and over, he had compassion on them, and he healed them, or he helped them, he did different things, and he has compassion. And so if we're learning to love like him, that's how we become like him. And that's why this is so important to me. Not only I hope that you want to be good at loving others, because that will make your relationships better, it'll make your friendships better, it'll make everything in your life better if you're good at loving others, but it makes you like Christ when we love like him. And so this is what we've been trying to do, discover how to love like him. So the last few weeks we've been looking at 1 Corinthians 13, because 1 Corinthians 13 defines love in this very long way. We talked about how it's kind, which you understand, because if someone is not kind, you've never thought, they're so loving, they're a jerk, okay? Those don't go together, right? Kind and love do, okay? Then we talked about last week how love forgives. And you can understand how in any relationship you have, there's going to be times when love is going to require you to forgive a mistake that they made, right? So love forgives. So I want to look at one more, okay? One more of the things that it says down there, and it ties into all the stuff that we've been reading about, that anger and that compassion, and I'll help you understand how in a second. But it's a simple idea that love always protects. Love always protects. Now this is kind of obvious in some ways, okay? That like, okay, let me give you an example from me, okay? I have, if you don't know, I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. And I was thinking about back when my daughter was little. In fact, I found a picture of her when she was like 2, okay? This is her. And so she was little bitty, okay? And one time, I think she was even a little littler than that. She was sitting on the couch and she couldn't really walk yet. So she's sitting on the couch and I'm kind of near her. And I look, and on the couch is a spider about this big, okay? And it is crawling straight towards her, okay? Now, I don't know about you, but normally with me and spiders, I would be like going in the other room and getting like a broom and being like, like as far away as I can, trying to hit that, or, maybe some hairspray and a lighter, like blowtorch. Okay, don't do that, but it will work, okay? But anyways, and I'm like, get away, I'm gonna kill it that way. I don't want that. But here in this moment, this thing is going towards my daughter, and without even hesitation, I just bam with my hand, okay? She's like, oh, okay, you've never had a daughter, you'll understand. Like, you cannot let this thing harm her, okay? And so in that moment, I knew this one thing, okay, that love protects. And in that moment, I protected her. Now, if we're talking about this, there will be some physical aspect. Maybe you protect someone physically, but most of the time it's different than that, right? Most of the time it's going to be more of an emotional thing where people need protection in some other ways. And so we'll talk about what those are. But before we do, I want to show you the twist in the story that we read, okay? So we read that, the story about the you little lamb, and he's like, give him 4 times and all that. So David's mad, okay, that this happened, okay? So then after he gets David all worked up, the guy who was talking to him keeps going, and he says this. He says, then Nathan said to David, you are the man. Not like, you're the man, but like, you're the man that did this thing, okay? That's what he says, you're the man. Now David's thinking, well, I never ate anybody else's lamb. Okay, now David probably knew immediately what was going on. And he goes on to tell him, so here's essentially what happened, okay? David was a king. He had money, and he had wives, okay? Like, obviously, he made a mistake there, but okay, he had multiple wives, okay? He had all that he could want and need. And then he saw somebody else's wife. There was just a normal guy. He was a man in his army who was fighting for David. And he saw this guy's wife, and she was pretty, and he wanted her. So he made her come, and he slept with her, and he got her pregnant. And then, to cover it up, he had the guy killed. Okay, so a little bit worse than taking somebody's lamb, right? But so he hears all this, and Nathan confronts him with it, and then this is what David says. I have sinned against the Lord. He looked at his own life, and he realized what he had done. See, here's what David was the king. He was supposed to be the one that protected people. He was supposed to be the one that made sure that the very thing that happened didn't happen. He should have made sure that kind of stuff did not happen in his kingdom, that he kept people safe. And here's why I think this is important. Because as a believer, we should be protecting people from being bullied, protecting people from being put down and insulted and embarrassed. We should be protecting people, but a lot of the times, we're the very ones that to make somebody laugh will put somebody down. That to make ourselves feel better will tear somebody else down. And if that's the case, and when you look in your life and you see it, I'm gonna tell you what you need to do. You need to look to the Lord and say, I've sinned. I've sinned, because that is not right. We cannot be people that hurt people. That is the opposite of love. And we're to be people of love. So, if love protects, how do we do that? What does that look like? Because love protects, and if you want to be a loving person, then you have to learn to protect. So let me tell you just a couple ways that love protects, okay? I'm going to give you these, and the first one I think is probably the least applicable, and so I'm going to give you that one first, okay? And I'm going to tell you what love protects from. Love protects from physical harm. So, I mean, like I already told you a little story about, my daughter, and I protected her from the little spider and all that kind of stuff. And there's that kind of aspect. And there may be some circumstances where you're protecting somebody from harm and that. I think it may be, could be something like, you have a friend who's being abused, and you find out and you tell somebody else about it and you help them get out of that. And so certainly there are times when this is the case. But I think that we can recognize that this isn't like, I hope you're not seeing people like physically harmed all the time, okay, and that. But we do see the next one a lot, okay? I'm not saying this doesn't have any role, but this is probably more of a minor role. But love protects from emotional harm. And this is something that you see all the time. Some of you have experienced yourself. But it protects from emotional harm. And here's some examples like embarrassment, humiliation, and insults. So when I was a band director, some of you know this, many, many years ago, and so we had gone to a band contest, right? and everybody had their uniforms on. And if you've never been in band, these are the most like horrible things. Like if you have to go to the bathroom, it's gonna take you like 30 minutes, okay? Because they got like suspenders and like zipper and another zipper and like buttons. I don't know if they're still this bad. Mine were horrible, okay? It takes forever. So anyway, we're on the way, and there's this one kid, and well, I don't even know how to say it nicely, but I mean, you may think it's kind of funny, but it's really hot and runny, okay? He had some diarrhea issues, okay? And let's just say he really had to go, but the bus was really slow, okay? Yeah, and so, he was running to the pot when he felt something hot, and he was trying to get there, and, his gut had a pain, and then his pants had a stain. And I'm sorry, I'll stop. I probably have like 15 more of those, but okay, I'll stop. And when you're eating Taco Bell, you know that smell. Okay, anyways. And so he had this pain, and so I'm doing some stuff. I'm setting up. I don't know anything's going on. And all of a sudden, this parent, because we have like parents that volunteer, comes to me, and he's like, "I need to talk to you over there." I'm like, "Okay." And I come over, he's like, "So David, not our David, it's a different David." This is a long time ago. David had a problem. And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "He has diarrhea." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "He didn't make it." And I was like, "It was in his band uniform." And so and so instantly when I heard, okay, he's a freshman. Okay, and I'm like, this could define the rest of his life in high school. And immediately when I heard, my heart was like, I'm concerned about this kid, okay? I'm having compassion, okay? Because I have seen things like this define a person. I mean, the rest of his life, people are going to be saying stuff to him, about diarrhea. And so I'm like, okay. And I was like, does anybody know? And she goes, no, he was on his way and no one was with him. And so I was like, okay, we had an extra uniform. I went and found it. And this is what we did. We tried as hard as we could to make sure nobody found out. And only 3 people knew: him, that parent, and me. And now all of you. Okay, but y'all don't know him, so it's okay. And so here's what we did. We tried to protect him because I wanted him to not have the harm from that, okay? And the embarrassment from that, and which could lead to the insults and stuff like that. And I've done it in really simple, goofy ways, and it kind of depends on the person, okay? So one kid we used to have in our youth group, he was in 7th grade, and he was the shyest kid ever. He was so easily embarrassed, and we were at youth camp together, and we're eating breakfast, and I look over and I notice his shirt is on backwards, okay? Anyways, his shirt was on backwards, and you could see a little bit of the tag right here, and I realized, okay, now if you told me my shirt was on backwards, I'd be like, darn it, I'm dumb, okay? And I just flip it around, no big deal. If I told him his shirt was on backwards in front of people, he would have turned bright red, gone to the dorm, never hung out with anybody the rest of the trip. I just knew him, so I was like, hey, can you come and help me with something? And I brought him out, and just because here's what I was trying to do, protect him. I was like, oh man, is your shirt on backwards? Man, I could barely even tell, okay? And he fixed it. It was not even a thing, but I just felt this need to protect him. Now, I know you have different friends, and they're all different, okay? You have one friend that they're in class, and they're like, achoo. Oh, look at the color, and you have another friend that if they did that and there was a big wad in their hand, that they would be like terrified that others, okay? And so I understand that when it comes to protecting people, listen, everybody's different, okay? And you have to know the people that you're around. But I will say this, I would err on protecting somebody than making a joke. If I don't know that they're gonna be okay, I'm gonna try to protect them. So, one of the ways that we do that is we hide embarrassment from people, okay? That's a simple way. I mean, if they've done something embarrassment, if I can help them not be further embarrassed, then I'm going to do that because that's protecting somebody, right? Another way that we do that is that we encourage. Now, this is really awful, but I've heard a group of girls telling another girl that she's ugly. Okay, I have heard guys telling another guy that you're such a weenie, you might as well be a girl. Okay, I've heard this kind of stuff, and I'll tell you, one of the things that people need is somebody to encourage them. Somebody to look at them and tell them that they are attractive. Look at them and tell them that they are worthy. Somebody to look at them and tell them that they are good. And when we do that, we are protecting them from the harm of what others have done. Now, kind of one of those things that annoys me, I don't know, I told you I have a lot of things that annoy me. One of them is when girls post pictures on Instagram just so other girls will tell them how pretty they are. Okay, I know some of you do that. I'm not talking about you. But they do that. And they're just wanting other girls to come and tell them how pretty they are. Now, the reason it annoys me is because you shouldn't get your self-worth from what somebody else tells you on Instagram, okay? And if nobody liked you, you're still pretty. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to get that. But on the other side of that, I will say this. Those of you that are getting on and telling people that they're pretty, you're doing a good job, okay? You're getting on there and encouraging somebody. I'm okay with that. I just don't want you to get your validation from that. Does that make sense? But it is good to encourage. And here's the other one, to vend. And sometimes you have to, now this one will get you, okay? One time my sister we were at this thing, and this girl started hitting my sister with a mallet, okay? And like hit her in the head. And so, I mean, I'm right there. So immediately I got in between them, and she saw the mallet, and I didn't know if she was going to hit me or not, okay? But what I did know was I'm not going to let her keep hitting my sister. You know what I'm saying? So immediately I defended. Now, I'm not telling you to break up fights in school, okay? I'm very clearly saying do not break up fights at school unless the Holy Spirit tells you, okay? And you'd be really clear on it. Like, are you sure, Holy Spirit? Okay, okay, so don't do that. Okay, now I'm giving you like an example of what could happen emotionally with a physical example, okay? If somebody is putting somebody down and you step up and say, hey, y'all stop doing that, they might turn on you and they might start putting you down. You know what I'm saying? You may have experienced this, but here's what I want to tell you. Be okay with that because you have the Holy Spirit with you. He'll keep you strong and you're not what they say you are and you know that, but that person you're defending might not know that. So be willing to stand up and you hear somebody putting other people down, you're doing that. This is what love does. That's not okay. Y'all need to stop that. And then you encourage that person. That's love. And that's what we need to do. It's not just not doing the bad, okay? It's actually doing something, okay? And so that's love, to defend and from emotional harm. Here's the last one. Love protects from self-harm. Now, I said it like this, and I know the first thing we start to think about is like cutting and stuff like that, which I would probably put more in that physical harm part, okay? And because really what I was trying to say was sin harm, okay? Which I thought sounded weird, okay? And this is what I mean though. We hurt ourselves the most when we sin, okay? Sin will hurt you more than anything else. Now, it's deceptive. We don't think it's hurting us, and then it does. But sin hurts you. And when we see sin in a friend's life, there are times when we are meant and called to help them stop hurting themselves. Does this make sense? So I'll tell you about when I got angry, like red in the face, angry. And you're going to think this is stupid, okay? But this is just my story, okay? So I have to start way back, though. So when I was young, like middle school age, I was watching this movie, and there was a guy and a girl making out in the movie, okay? And I'm not going to get very descriptive, but the guy touched the girl physically in a way, okay? It kind of, I didn't even really think of it at the time, okay? It wasn't even like extremely, I mean, it was inappropriate, but anyways, and so it was like a PG-13 movie, okay? And so that happened. So then when I get in high school and I'm dating a girl, it's amazing how all of a sudden after we had been dating for a while and we kissed a few times and stuff, that image came into my mind. And the lust from that image began to be something that we struggled with when we were dating, okay? And it's amazing so I had that experience where something I had seen caused a lust struggle in me, where now I'm dealing with praying with the Lord, trying to overcome that. Okay, you see the image? Okay, so now fast forward. I'm, again, a band director, okay? And we were on a charter bus. There's 2 people on this bus, mostly students. And I'm kind of in the back. We're watching a movie. And I don't even remember what it was. It was some stupid movie. And I'm not paying attention because I have work to do. And I'm doing work. And I look up. And in this movie, it's not the one I watched with kids, but in this movie, there's a guy. And he starts to do to the girl the same thing that I had seen when I was younger. And I got mad. And here, you think this is silly, but in that moment, I just realized that there are 50-something kids on this bus who may have the same struggle I did. And I was so mad that was on the screens. I stood up, I marched to the front of the bus, I opened that DVD player, took it out and put it down, and I said, "We are not watching this junk." And the parents at the front went, and all the kids were like, okay. And anyways, and it made me so upset. And here's why. Because I just had something into me that said, I cannot let them suffer the way that I did. That I have to protect them from that. That this thing can harm their life. And I knew it. And as I looked at that, it just made me upset. It made me upset because I knew that there may be a whole group of more people that suffer and struggle the same way that I did. Now, that's kind of maybe a grand way of looking at this, but there's a much smaller way, and that is just you and some of your friends. There's a simple verse that says this: brothers or sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who are spiritual should restore him or her gently. You will, if you have good friends, okay, and I hope you do, you are going to sometimes see them struggle with sin. Sometimes they won't even recognize it. Sometimes they know. Here's something that we're supposed to do. Listen to the words. Restore gently. Restore. When we see sin, okay, it's not like we're like, well, look at them, they're being so dumb. If that's your attitude, you need to get right with Jesus, okay? But here's our attitude. I see a friend, and they're hurting themselves. I want to restore them. And then it says gently. This is in a loving, caring way. So here, it's pretty simple. When you see somebody who's struggling with sin, you talk with them, and you pray with them about their sin. Now, let me be really clear. I'm talking about a Christian that you have a relationship with. Okay, if this is an unbeliever, our goal is not to get them to stop sinning. Our goal is to get them to know Jesus, okay? Because if they don't know Jesus, it doesn't matter what sin is going on in their life. Okay, that's in fact, that could be another thing about, we could do a whole nother number on this about, protecting them from an eternity separated from God. But when we're talking about believers that you have a relationship with, okay, if I have a really good friend, and I have many of these, okay, and I saw them doing something in their life that was going to bring them harm, and I thought, you know what, I'll just wait, and when it blows up, I'll help them. Does that sound like love? Is this easier, isn't it? Isn't it easier just to sit back and not say anything and let the whole thing self-destruct and then oh, I'm the one to help you? Yeah, that's way easier, but it's way better to step in and say, hey, I just want to talk to you and pray with you because I see this thing and I know it's going to cause you harm, and to be there for somebody. And so there's so many different ways that we do this, but love protects. Love protects. So I want to end with this image for you. So when it's raining, I like to have one of these, right? I like to have an umbrella because it's pouring outside and it's doing all this kind of stuff and it's dumping, and here I go, I'm good. Now, if you're out there in the rain and you ain't got no umbrella, you're getting wet. Now, here's what you know. If you come next to me, guess what you are? You're protected. Actually, this is kind of fun. The Greek word protect actually literally means like a covering, like a roof, okay? But they translate protect just to help us understand. But it's like a covering, like a roof. They didn't have umbrellas back then, or maybe they would have said, love always umbrella. I don't know, that's dumb. But here we go. So if you're with me, you're safe. You're protected from the rain. And see, this is what happens with me and my kids. Think safety, like physical protection. If there's something scary that happens, you know what they do with me? They run straight to me and they grab on, okay? And because they know this, when I'm with Dad, I'm safe. I mean, they don't know I'm kind of a weenie, but as long as they think it, that they feel safe because they're under my protection, okay? Now, this is what I want for the people in my life. I want them to know this, okay? When I'm with him, I'm safe. I can say whatever, and he's not going to judge me. I can make a mistake, and he's going to be okay with it. I mean, if I do a dance and it's embarrassing, he's just going to smile with me. If you have a problem and you don't make it and you smell, I mean, like the kid in the band, I mean, he's going to protect me. Okay, I might not sit near you, but I'm going to protect you, okay? And whatever it is, okay, I want you to know, I want the people in my life to know I'm safe when I'm near him. I can be myself. Do you know how many people feel like they can't be themselves with their friends? Some of you, that's you. And every single day, they kind of just pretend. They put on a face. I want to know when people are with me that they know they can just be real. If they got a problem, they can just tell me because I'm happy to know it. Now, I hope that you do this too. That the people in your life know when I'm with them, I'm safe. I can just be real. Now, that's a good way to be. But that's going to take you being a person that loves in a way that protects. And then here's the last thought, okay? I want our youth group to be that. So many people go to school and they feel like they have to put on a self, put on a face, put on a mask, whatever it is, okay? But I want when they walk in here to go, I'm safe here. Because this is a place of safety. This is a place where they don't make fun of you. If I'm the biggest dork in my school, it doesn't matter in that place, okay? If I'm the coolest guy, but I'm really putting on a front, it doesn't matter in that place, okay? Because this is a place that's safe. And so, how do we do that? We protect people. We protect them from embarrassment. We protect them from hurt. We protect them from self-harm. We protect them, and we live a life of love because that is what love looks like. And finally, let me just say this. Some of you have been the person that's been attacked. Like you've had some people that put you down, that insulted you, that gave you harm. You know what I'm saying? That's been you. I just want to say this to you. You are not the words that other people have said. You are who God says you are. He created you. He loves you. He loves the way that he made you, the way that you look. He made that, okay? So get over what other people have said. He's made you that way. He loves your personality. Now, yes, you have flaws, and he knows about those, and he still loves you, and he's going to work on those flaws. So I want you to know that if you've been put down and hurt by other people, first of all, you're in a safe place, okay? We love you. We're going to be with you, and we're never going to put you down. And two, your Heavenly Father loves you. So what I want to do is I want to end our service like we always do with prayer. And maybe you feel that way, like you need to you need somebody to build you up, to encourage you, let somebody pray with you. And if you have any need that's going on in your life, something's happened in your life, something's difficult, there will be people to pray with you. We're going to sing part of a song together, and when we're done, we'll be dismissed. But during that song, if you need prayer, just walk to the back and there'll be people to pray with you. Father, we love you and we thank you that you protect us. Lord, I pray that we would be people that love others by helping them, protecting them. We'd have compassion on them. Lord, I pray that we would hate sin and help others that are struggling. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.